It's the Final Word Daily, and it is live. Me, Daniel Norcross. You'll notice it is just me, Daniel Norcross, alone in his hotel room. I'll explain more in a minute. For Westfield London and Westfield Stratford City, we are discussing, by we, I mean me, the game of the day. Well, one of the games of the day. That's why there's only one of me. That's not entirely why there's only one of me. I'll explain more in a minute. The USA were playing the West Indies in a crucial game. Daniel, can you sum that up in 30 seconds? West Indies won the toss. The USA, desperate to get a large total, to put pressure on the West Indies and, for that matter, South Africa and England in Group 2. They didn't. They got very few runs indeed. They only scored 128 of them. It was never going to be enough. There were moments of flamboyance and loveliness from Andries Goes and indeed from Nitish Kumar. But in the end, Roston Chase and most of the rest of the West Indian spinners were too much. As for the West Indies reply, it was murderous. It was magnificent. It featured 11 sixes, 7 fours as Shea Hope making his first appearance for some time. Whacked 82 unbeaten alongside Nicholas Pooran to win the game incredibly comfortably with lots of time to spare. More of that along. Daniel. Well, Daniel, yes, where do we start? It was quite the game, wasn't it? Insofar as we were expecting a little bit more from it. The USA had shown, in a way, the kind of the team of the tournament, you might say, despite really nobody giving them a prayer of making it through to the semi-finals. What was, I guess, against them today was a decent pitch and a massively motivated West Indies. The West Indies knew that if they could win this game and win it comfortably, win it by a large margin, that would give them the net run rate boost that would mean they had the simple task of basically just beating South Africa in their last game. It's not that simple, let's face it. England didn't manage to do it. But if they could do it, if they could beat South Africa, having absolutely thrashed the USA, because South Africa didn't thrash the USA, that would give them a net run rate boost. It would take them past England and past South Africa's net run rate to give them that simple equation. It also means, of course, that if England were to beat the USA by not a very large margin at all, as long as the West Indies do beat South Africa will be out, which is kind of spooky, isn't it? They win the first 2 games and then they're out. How on earth does that happen? I'm not sure that they've quite clocked that yet. And if nobody from the South African camp is listening to this, they probably don't yet know. So keep it under your hat. But back to this game. Well, so much went wrong, to be brutally honest with you, for the Americans. And it was a combination, I suppose, of what we've come to expect from them, which is that they go hard at you, and then they try to keep going hard. And then, like, as the pitch have been a bit more awkward, that's been enough to cover up some of the deficiencies lower down because they've got a very good bowling attack. On this occasion, unfortunately, the pitch was a little bit better. So they lost Taylor early. He's always getting out early. There was a nice partnership between Goes and Nitish Kumar, the man who, of course, used to play for Canada. And at that point, we were feeling quite sort of hopeful. 51 for 1 after 6.2 overs. They might get to 150, 160, which you felt they might possibly have been able to defend, although matters later on suggested that they wouldn't. But the big turning point, after a couple of wickets went down quickly, Goes out, caught by Hope off Joseph, and then Nitish Kumar, LBW, sort of rather hilariously actually referring the straightest straight ball you've ever seen in your life. He's playing a reverse sweep. When he was out, it was all down to Aaron Jones and Corey Anderson. And then, Roston Chase comes into the attack. Now, we've seen what he could do against England, and it wasn't devastating wicket-taking potential, but it was awkward. It was tricky. He bowls at a certain pace on these pitches, which is perfect for it. In fact, all 3 of the West Indian spinners bowled at a really lovely pace for the pitches, somewhere in the region of 58, sometimes getting as much as 65. Moti bowling quickly, as well as Akil Hussain bowling in the power play yet again, being incredibly tricky to get away. Chase comes on. Aaron Jones swings for the hills first ball, almost like a sort of, you could see in his mind's eye, there was a reprise of what he'd done in Dallas. He was going to hit 10 sixes, all of them whacked over deep mid-wicket the moment the off-spinner came on. Unfortunately, he missed the first ball, just got a little feather cannon off the pad or his back leg onto the leg stump. And with that 4th wicket going down at 65, suddenly 51 for 1 and become 65 for 4. The wheels have kind of fallen off. Corey Anderson, who has done almost nothing in this tournament. It's kind of weird when you think that we've been saying, well, the USA, who have they got on their side? We don't necessarily recognise household names. The one household name we do recognise, Corey Anderson, has, as Ravi Shastri would say, not come to the party. And again, he didn't come to the party. And he didn't come to the party very slowly. He rather sort of crawled gradually towards the party, looked at the party, saw that there was a party to be had, but kind of felt that it was inappropriate for him really to be there, and then quietly slunk away. In this case, LBW to the straightest board you've ever seen from Roston Chase. And in fairness to Corey Anderson, he pretty much walked, which I take my hat off to him. It saved us a bit of time. And since I was desperate to get back to do the Final Word Daily, which is being done quite late at night, and I've got things to do tomorrow morning. Big fan. More of that. Don't refer. Very nice. Thereafter, the innings sort of petered out. Bits of gorgeousness from Shadley van Schalkwijk, one of the great names of this tournament. An hilarious run out involving Milind Kumar when they both found themselves at the same end. It's one of the rare occasions where someone clips the ball to short fine leg and there isn't a run, but it's because Corey finally connected with one. Went really quickly to short fine leg, picked up on the half volley, flung to the non-striker's end, by which stage Milind Kumar was at the striker's end. And dear old Corey Anderson hadn't moved. Thought that was probably the sensible sacrifice until pretty much the very next over Anderson got out. And so the innings limped to its rather dismal conclusion. 10 overs of spin bowled, 4 wickets went down for 46 off the spinners. 10 overs of seam was bowled, 5 wickets went down for 82. It was a sort of easier against the pacers than the spinners. That might be interesting. There's a couple more games. Well, one more game in the Super 8s in Barbados, and then the final. So I think people will be taking note of that. Also, the pace at which you want to bowl your spin. You want to get it up there in the sort of high 50s, that sort of a mark. Then it was really all about the West Indies. Were they going to show the necessary intent? Were they going to be willing to risk it for the biscuit? Because they had to, really. If they just won, then they'd find themselves in a situation where they'd have to do a little bit more than just win again against South Africa. It's bad enough beating South Africa, but having to beat them heavily would be tricky. So they went out hell for leather. Shea Hope showed intent, as they say in New Zealand, from the very second over. The first over, no one showed intent, and that's fairly normal. By the second over, intent was everywhere. It was intent galore, and then it was sixes galore. The heavy Bajan influence of this West Indian side was being roared to the rafters by a partisan crowd, although a partisan crowd that had enough smatterings of USA fans to sing USA. Sing? Well, grunt. USA, USA. Had a lot of that. Anything was missing was get in the hole, which we didn't hear, mercifully, presumably because those fans realised they weren't at the Ryder Cup. There were some Pakistani shirts in the crowd as well, quite a few of those. Obviously, Pakistan fans having booked up to come here, expecting to be here. Well, they're not here. There were New Zealand fans as well who were expected to be here. They're not here because the USA are here, but the USA will not be here for that much longer because after today's performance, they are effectively out. It was a masterclass from Shea Hope and, towards the back end, Nicholas Pooran, which allowed the West Indies to hunt down their meagre target of 129 in just 10.5 overs. And most of that, really, was after the end of the fifth over. I was on commentary for the first 5, and they went a decent lick. Scored about 50-odd runs in the first 5, then 80 in the next 6.5. Bowlers were taken to the cleaners. The aforementioned Shadley van Schalkwijk, none for 29 in 2. Milind Kumar, he of the run-out, none for 22 in 1. The one man to take a wicket, Harmeet Singh. It was a glorious display from the West Indies in front of a rapt, delighted and joyous crowd who suddenly realised that the fate was back in their own hands. And that's all you can really ask for at this stage in the tournament, is your fate in your hands. lot of people talk about free will. I kind of tend to be a big fan of it myself without really being sure that it exists. Well, for the West Indies, they have free will, but who knows if determinism is going to scupper their chances when it comes to South Africa. Just to remind you of those permutations, England win against the USA. Probably don't need to win by a great deal because they only lost to South Africa by 7 runs and they beat the West Indies with 16 balls to spare. They are still just behind South Africa's net run rate, but only by 0.2. That could easily be overturned, firstly, because in order for net run rate to become an issue in this scenario, the West Indies have to beat South Africa, so that will depress South Africa's run rate. England, by contrast, will have to beat the USA. They won't know exactly what they'll need because they play first. By that stage, the West Indies know what they need, which is they've got to beat South Africa. South Africa might discover that they need to lose by only 4 or 5 runs. We could get to that scenario, but at the moment, the most likely scenario is a straight shootout between South Africa and the West Indies for the second place, assuming that England beat the USA, which isn't a foregone conclusion, but having watched the USA today, you'd have to say it's the most likely. Time for us to take a break. When we get back, it's going to be the Hall of Fame. Welcome back. So, what's keeping you up at night? Stress at work? The state of the world? Gareth Southgate's tactical nous? You don't need CBD oil, therapy, or a glass of warm milk. You need a new mattress, an Emma mattress. Now, I'm not about to tell you that there's no better place to buy an Emma mattress than Westfield, London, because you can buy one from their website and it'll show up at your house in a box. But if you're the sort of savvy consumer who likes to try before they buy, come and lay down in their showroom and find out just how much better it is to bat on a good wicket. Westfield, London, for better mental health. Spend 8 hours a day sleeping with Emma. So, Hall of Fame. Daniel, what was your Hall of Fame nomination today? Well, Daniel, for me, there can be only one. Aaron Jones smashes Alzarri Joseph high and wide over deep mid-wicket. It goes miles. It lands on the top of a 3-story building, bounces down, and eventually plops back onto the ground. Alzarri Joseph, absolutely furious. You've never seen a man more angry. He's standing there doing the full double teapot. He can't, frankly, compute the indignity that has befallen him. However, within moments, he's back in the game. Andries Goes is out, caught by Shea Hope. Surely he's going to show joy, delight, marvellous wonder. He's got his wicket. It's not the right man, perhaps, but he's got his wicket. Not a bit of it. He's chuntering. He's furious. He can't let it go. That 6 will stay in his mind and live rent-free in his head for almost literally ever. That's not a bad one, Daniel. What about your one? Your Hall of Famer? Well, do you know, my Hall of Famer is also Alzarri Joseph, who could not believe that the umpire had failed to give somebody out caught behind, and so stood right in the middle of the pitch, arms wide apart, gesturing at the umpire. How could you not give that out? Failing to remember that he has 2 reviews. So you could just take the review rather than looking quite as exceptionally miserable as you have done throughout the entire game. So in the end, his captain takes pity. Obviously, it's out. Alzarri Joseph is convinced that it's out. Goes to review. Ball's nowhere near the bat. Absolutely nowhere near the bat. He's starting to hear things, Alzarri Joseph. And what is he hearing? He's hearing the sound of the ball crunching off Aaron Jones's bat. It will never leave him, even though they won by 9 wickets with 9.1 overs to spare. So there you go. That's it. That's the Final Word Daily with me, Daniel Norcross. If you're wondering why it's just Daniel Norcross, blame technology. It's got absolutely nothing to do with me or indeed anybody else. It's not their fault. Other people will be back, better people than me, I can assure you, for a much better show. It involves people talking to each other like they normally do. But for now, with huge thanks to Westfield London and Westfield Stratford City, more extra, less ordinary, from me, Daniel Norcross, and the entire Final Word team, is goodbye.